I started with $5,000 in my pocket, literally.
Yeah.
And rent due, and I had to buy QuickBooks and
Figure that
started.
out.
And that's when I moved out of my dad's one bay garage. I moved into the 8,000 square foot building and just be a good steward of people's time and money.
Yeah.
And it comes back tenfold, right?
Ford F100 World Podcast. Ford Trucks 24/7. A builder support community on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and podcast. Want to know more? Join, follow, like, and share. No commercials, just Fords.
Thomas and Emily Kincer, what's up, guys?
Hey. How are you doing?
You guys sound so excited. It's not like it's morning or anything. You know?
It's morning.
It's morning. Yeah, she's got coffee.
No, I don't want him on coffee.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on here. I went out to your shop last year in May and was really, really just impressed with everything they had going on. And I just wanted to talk about it more than we did with, say, the videos that we made back then. I know you guys got some, what'd you say, secret sauce and a little bit special stuff. So I do want to talk about the techie side of it. I would like to talk about how you guys get started, the geometry of your suspension, what you guys figured out. But the part that I was sort of surprised to find out about when I got there, which actually makes sense, is that you guys are sort of Ford licensed and you guys actually do more than suspension when you build trucks. You guys have Ford engines, Coyotes and Godzillas that you put in there, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't know that we are a Ford performance dealer.
Yeah.
We move a lot of engines and transmissions and transfer cases and a lot.
And our Ford licensing is for
Ford
our Bronco
Broncos.
products.
Right.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. So there's like Ford Performance is the engines, Ford licensing is what you're able and, what they're willing for you to put on the Broncos and stuff.
Frames and rolling chassis for early Broncos. We've been licensed since 2018. So
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, on the Ford Performance part, was that a necessity that you guys felt like you had to, you were like, we need to put the newest and the best in your guys' builds? Because not only do you do suspensions, but you guys kind of build trucks, right? Like you put the bodies on the frames, maybe not body work, but
yeah. So I mean, Ford Performance, teaming up with Ford Performance become a necessity for sure. Just all the engines we were going through and all the swaps and everything, and for the Broncos, really drove that in the beginning. And we'll order 28 engines at a time, tractor trailer loads of them, and transmissions and transfer cases. And
what made you kind of want to do it though? What made you go, I need to put new Ford engines and everything?
Just the modern drivability, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that we really want to focus on is, to drive the vehicles, right? A lot of builders build vehicles, and actually get upset at customers for driving the vehicles, because at the end of the day, when you drive a vehicle, no different than a new vehicle, when you drive it, it goes downhill, right? The paint, you get rock chips, you get all these things, but really at the end of the day, that's what we want to focus on is drivability and where that customer can use it if they want to, right? I mean, like Broncos are built to go off road, but a lot of people don't use them the way that we've got them intended, but they're still, that's why we have a freeway series and adventure series. Our freeway series is our number one selling chassis because it is, made for the highway, but it'll still go off road. This Bronco behind us is Emily's, and it's a freeway series chassis. And we took a 5-hour drive yesterday in it. So to look at some property, and yeah, we're actually on the trails yesterday. We're kind of gotten some places we didn't know we were going to get in. So
so it's good for both. That's cool.
Yeah, it's good for both. Yeah.
So basically you're putting really nice chassis underneath really cool trucks of various conditions, and then but yet they still had the clapped out 302. Is that kind of, you were like, why don't we put a Coyote in this? Or
yeah, so I would say from 2000, we have not done a push rod engine other than Godzilla's, right? An old, we call it clapped out, 302, which is just, it's great for a boat anchor, right? I mean, they're a heat monster, but we haven't done a 302, an old architecture single cam engine since
in a while,
probably 2016. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
we have some used components in them when we had to source some used transmissions for a while, but since then we can proudly say that everything that we do is 100% new, with the exception of the trucks where we reuse the frames.
Yeah. And when we do trucks, we're really looking for the right truck. We're not a paint shop. We're not into all that. We're not into your, custom inner fenders and all that. We really want to produce a truck for people that align with what we're doing.
Yeah.
There's a really good recipe for it. And when we turn a truck around, it's kind of like Chris Arnott's truck, the Silver Bullet. I mean, he left out of Maryville, Tennessee, and drove straight through to, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, with his kids. He does this every Christmas, and he never turned the truck off. Like, he drove straight through. We have a 40-gallon rear tank, and I think it's a 15 or 17-gallon front tank, and he just motored right on through. They didn't even stop. They just wanted to get to Jackson Hole.
That's awesome, dude.
He didn't hesitate for 1 minute to go on that trip, and he did not have one problem.
No,
that's epic. A testament to your guys' quality right there.
Well, before that, he went to New York. He took his kids to New York.
He did a test trip up to New York, straight into the city. There's a video on
That's like 10 hours or something, 12 hours or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he met, we're getting off topic, but he met so many people while he was in Jackson Hole. It was crazy, the number of people that reached out to us on social to see if they could get in touch with him, to see the truck, drive the truck. And that's like really what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, we really encourage people to come to our shop and drive trucks, right? Drive the vehicle, see what they're all about. The proof's when you get behind the steering wheel and you're actually driving down the road, and I don't think a lot of shops do that. And we encourage it. Like, we have Big Red, which is nicknamed Bread, but we have that truck at shows just out in the parking lot. It's like, hey, come on, drive it. And everybody's very hesitant to go drive it. I'm like, I'm not driving it, you're driving, right? So let's just go. It's just a vehicle, right? So
are you guys doing that at Granddad's again? Because I missed out. I wasn't able to do it, and I kind of want
to. Yeah, we can do a ride along.
Yeah, for sure.
We're trying to figure out a way to do more of that this year. We're just not sure what that's going to look like yet, but to get more butts and seats at our shop.
And see the shop, once you see, it goes from flat sheet metal all the way through the whole process, it's kind of eye-opening that how, vertically integrated we are, from gas tanks to exhaust. And we have now, which we haven't released this, Craig, but I told you, I can tell you, I can share this with you. It's not something that's like super skunk work project, right? But
but it's new,
I think we have 17 part numbers for new gas tanks for trucks. 17 different gas tanks, 16 or 7. That's people are not doing, right? So for all the different year models and long range traveling that a lot of people want to do in their trucks, a lot of people want 4 doors and crew cabs, and throw the kids in there and go on a trip, and these 20 and 30 gallon tanks are not cutting it. So
do you guys make your own, or do you kind of work with other companies, or both?
No, we build it, we design it and cut it and bend it and weld it and pressure test it, every bit of it in house.
I thought that's what I remembered, but I couldn't remember if it was. That's cool. So you probably have experienced that a lot during the progression, if you will, over the years of doing your guys' suspensions and chassis, of having to kind of figure out or find your own parts to make things work, or maybe, to have them in stock. I've heard that's been a lot of issues working with other companies. Sometimes you can't get it. Is that a pretty common thing throughout the years? Have you done that?
Yeah. So I made this commitment to myself years and years and years ago. I was actually in my dad he still got his 30 by 40 garage. And so he basically said, hey, you can have this bay to get started in, right? And so I started building Broncos out of there, and actually built my fixture table that we still build Broncos out of for frames in that one bay. Yeah.
Oh, really?
But the biggest thing that runs all over me as a builder, which, before I used to do a lot more restoration, paint and body interior and all that stuff, right? So what I really, I made a commitment to myself in the company is, let's say, for instance, you have one of those clapped out 302s, right? And you think you're going to make it a hot rod, right?
Yeah.
So you put an Edelbrock intake on it. I always use a scenario because it stands out in my mind so well, because it happened to me. And you go to put on a new front drive accessory system to make it super nice and look good, some aftermarket drive accessory, and then the AC compressor, hits the intake. The back of the compressor hits the intake. And you just like a 16th of it actually working properly, right? But the aftermarket front drive accessory company didn't talk to the guy that, the company that built the intake, right? And because the intake's not made for that aftermarket front drive accessory, right? So here I am in this pickle because I have, a conscience and morals, and okay, now I got to take the intake back off to machine the intake, right? And I just put it on. Right. So, there's just rampant in the hot rod. I use the word hot rod market. Just in this industry, the aftermarket industry, it's rampant, right? So that's how come we're so vertically integrated is we want to make sure every part works together, right? A lot of times when you build a vehicle from Jegs and Summit and all these different places and you're getting parts and they're all on the floor and it all says it works for this vehicle, but it doesn't. And then it takes like 1,000, 2,000 miles of driving it and tweaking it and getting it to play nice together. It's like all these divorced parts. And now they got to figure out how to get married together, right?
Yeah.
Well, we make that marriage seamless, right? From the very beginning, right? So, all the parts are made to work together. They're all going through R&D and testing over and over and over. And that's why we don't really release things. We let it just organically happen because we're constantly developing and we're not the ones just to throw products out there and, now do we have problems? We'll have issues here and there's a scenario that we've never seen before. Go out to a customer and be like, well, this doesn't fit. It's like, wow, thank you, Ford, for creating another version, right? We didn't know about, but we stand behind it. We make it right. We do whatever we got to do to get the product fixed to get it back to the customer. My whole thing of circling back to about the intake thing, it's like, how can I charge a customer 3 and 4 times to take this part on and off? Right. And I had a real issue with that. And that's just where we're different, I think, than a lot of different shops. We want to be super fair and honest about and transparent. Like if you get a truck quote from me, it's gonna be 13, 14 pages long down to the bell housing bolts. Right.
Yeah. That's something we're gonna talk about later. Your inspection process is amazing. I love that.
Thank you. But it's just a little short clip of the commitment I've made to myself when I started doing this. You went away from full-blown restorations and paint and interior stuff. It's to really make the products work together. There's a lot of value in that. So
you kind of answered it, but do you offer just parts? Can people call you and just get parts, right? Meaning maybe even people that don't have your say chassis or whatever.
Right. So
if it'll work for them, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for this Bronco behind us, it's got a brand new frame under it, but this actual suspension, the Freeway series, we call it a weld-on kit. You can get this whole suspension system, axles and everything delivered to you to put on your OEM frame, right? Wow. So, you have you could do it with the body on if you wanted, you would have to pull the body to put the suspension kit on. It'd be a Freeway series, but it's a weld-on kit, or you could get a back half, it's a 4-link kit, or a front half long arm kit. So, again, as we don't do a great job of telling the industry about it, but it's just
promoting
the news to travel a little slower,
Let's make sure we really have it all.
Yeah.
You want the quality, word of mouth to make it, before you really start, Google adding or something, I get it. Yeah.
Oh, you know how many pennies I've spent on Google ads? Zero.
I figured. That's cool. That's awesome. So you mentioned you started in that shop at your dad's. Is that how the company got started, or how you really started realizing that you like building because your start was with Broncos, right?
Yeah. So that was the love for Broncos. And, before I moved in my dad's garage, I had a business partner for 1.5 years. And obviously, a lot of times that doesn't work out and we parted ways and that's okay. Right. So I left there, basically just had the Crawler's Edge name at the time. Right. And we still carry that name. That's our supporting components, like front drive accessories, gas tanks, all fall under that name.
What is it again?
Crawler's Edge.
Crawler's Edge.
You may not have really even heard that name so much because it's Bronco based.
Right.
Kind of sounds familiar, actually, but yeah.
We offer a sport cage that's crazy popular in the Bronco community, but
so front drive accessories, gas tanks, exhausts, all that's made by Crawler's Edge, which is, it's all under Kincer Engineering Design and doing this, Kincer Chassis and Crawler's Edge, but we just branded as that because it gained quite a bit of traction in the early years. I didn't want to let it die,
Yeah.
Where I started. So we just keep it the supporting components, right? So anything that attaches to a chassis, radiators or anything like that, all falls under that name.
The idea in 2018 when we became Kincer Chassis was that anything licensed was going to live under that name. So that's essentially where we still are
Gotcha.
today on the Bronco side.
Yeah.
And then all the other little parts that aren't licensed were crawler side still.
Yeah.
Man, 2018, I thought you guys started the Kincer part started a lot further away than that. That was cool. 2018, you guys are doing great. It's only been,
Yeah.
less than a decade. Like, that's amazing, guys. Like, holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, in trucks, we've really been in trucks for 2 years, 2.5 years,
Yeah.
something like that. So, I mean,
He said he was going to squeeze everything he could out of Broncos before we did anything else, and we did.
because I really didn't want distractions, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can kind of piddle in everything. You know,
Yeah.
you can kind of do this and that, but you really can't just like really pour your passion and your soul into it if you're doing everything. You really got to focus. And so Broncos are, we have at our Christmas party, I said we had 4 chassis, but everybody corrected me. We have like 8 different chassis or something. But so we have a lot of stuff going on for Broncos, and we will have something new coming out for that in the future. But really, we're focused on trucks right now, and
On growing trucks.
yeah, just growing trucks.
But Broncos are still just like they were.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you say that, like, you guys are kind of hitting just the industry in general for Broncos is kind of hitting the limits of what you guys can do with it? Because I went to your shop and you had a chassis that didn't take, any kind of engine, per se, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. You guys did would you say the limits have been reached on the Broncos, or?
Well, I mean, you can keep on and on and on, right? Like developing new things, but markets do shift, right? And I don't know, the Bronco market's definitely not went away. I mean, this last Barrett Jackson, there was over between 50 and 60 early Broncos there, right?
Yeah.
And 90% of those were built for that show, right? So there's a reason Barrett Jackson has a Bronco on their homepage, right?
Yeah, good point. That's cool. So,
yeah,
tell me something. Where are you guys located at exactly? I think it's near Lenore, right? Are you guys
Near
technically
Lenore
in
City? We're in Louisville, Tennessee.
Louisville,
which is right by the Knoxville airport.
In McGee-Tossin, yeah.
Super close to there. So we're about 20 minutes from downtown Knoxville, but if you fly in the Knoxville airport, you're like less than 10 minutes drive. So we go get people from the airport usually because it's not even worth trying to get an Uber.
Yeah, right. I didn't know you were that close to it. I felt like you guys were kind of more, I guess that would be east than I thought you were, right?
Where are we from the show? Grand Nats.
Well, you guys are
minutes.
Grand National Show, 40 minutes. So we could easily do
40
cruise if we wanted to, throwing out ideas.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is that kind of where you guys grew up, in that city, or Knoxville in general?
I grew up in Knoxville. Yeah.
Did you?
I mean, we're in our garage right now here at home, but 10 minutes from here is where my parents live. So just right here, right outside the city limits in Knoxville right now. So
what about you, Emily?
I grew up in Baltimore and then landed here via Virginia, New Mexico, St. Louis, back to Virginia, and then I met Tom.
Oh yeah, okay, that's cool. I don't hear much of an accent for where you're out there. Did you lose it and become kind of,
I don't know what I have
Tennessean
anymore.
You don't really have one.
I definitely don't have Tennessee.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have Baltimore anymore either. But Bobo came from New Mexico with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we met him. Yeah.
Have you always been a car girl, or is that something you've, Yeah.
Pretty much.
A 4-wheel drive girl.
A 4-wheel drive. Yeah, I had a Jeep before I had a Bronco.
Oh, yeah.
The best Jeep.
I had an XJ, which is the best Jeep.
If you have to have get an XJ.
Yes.
Yeah. No CJ for you, huh?
Mm-mm.
It's too
too Jeepy.
Too Jeepy.
So, what about you? I assume your dad was into trucks and classics, and that's kind of where you got into it, or?
Yeah. So, my dad and his brother, they raced, circle track, dirt car racing, right? And growing up, I was around that, and they always built their own chassis for themselves. They never built, to sell chassis. They always built a new chassis or two a year. And, that kind of fizzled out. My dad got into go-kart racing and whatnot, and, just always tinkering in the garage on something. Mm-hmm. And so we did he bought a 71 Mach 1 new. Him and my mom dated in this car. It's got 55,000 original miles on it. It's a Grabber Lime Mach 1. And hey, buddy, you want to sit with mama? And so, we took that to like MCA Grand National, events, concourse types events. And built a 65 pickup truck, had a little 6-cylinder in it. We pulled the 6-cylinder and put a 390 Police Interceptor engine in it. It was C6. And I think when I was about 14 or 15, we did that project. And right about then, around that same time, we built a 65 2+2 for my sister. It was for her graduation present. Yeah.
So you're a Ford family for the most part.
Oh yeah, we bleed blue, that's for sure.
Well, that's cool.
Through and through.
Why Broncos? Where did Broncos come into the Kincer family?
Yeah. So
it's a long story.
No, it's a short story. I'll make it short. Jeep. I come home with a Jeep.
You had a Jeep too, just to say that louder.
So what it is, so my buddy, which actually, so Josh Bergen went to school with him and he's a real good friend. And at the time, he had a Jeep for his first vehicle for high, when he was in high school. And we went four-wheeling in this Jeep. And I was like, man, that's cool. I'm gonna go four-wheeling again. So I found a CJ5 and I learned all the things about two-piece rear axles and, all the things that are horrible about them. Showed up in the driveway with this Jeep and my dad's like, you better get that thing out of my yard. So not long after that, I bought a 77 Bronco. I was reading, just reading in magazines, Peterson's 4x4, top 10 vehicles from the showroom floor, for a 4x4. And the number one was a Ford Bronco. Had the V8 automatic, 9-inch rear, 44 front.
Wow.
Had everything I wanted to do to the Jeep, right? So
yeah,
I was like, what makes sense because it's Ford. So I sold the Jeep and bought a Bronco, and the rest is kind of history. And I think when I bought that Bronco, I was 20. Really? So yeah.
What's your favorite, Bronco? The first gen, as people call it, or the dead side, or did you like the 90s? Or
no, I mean my first truck was a 94 F-150. I mean, I have a lot of love for those trucks as well.
Yeah, me too.
I grew up sitting behind us right here on one of these 4-post lifts behind us right here. I have a 72 red cabin chassis, and that's what I grew up in. Not that physical truck, but I grew up in candy apple red. My dad had that as a work truck, and I remember riding around him holding me one arm, up in the seat. And so I found a truck. This truck's got 17,000 original miles on it, and I'm going to do something here with it one day. I know it's going to get 4-wheel drive swapped and whatnot, but yeah,
you don't say. Yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, it's a cream puff, man. 17,000 original miles on that truck. It's a nice one. But and then he had a 77. We call it the black and gray truck. So he had a 77 F-250, another work truck. And I remember going to all my baseball games and practice and everything on that truck. So bump sides, dent sides, the 92 to 96 trucks, they all have a soft spot for them. So. The Broncos, circling back to what's my favorite, it's just because I started just wheeling Broncos, right? And that's why, I don't get to do it a lot anymore, but that was my passion, right? For early Broncos. And just as I get older, you think about your childhood, and that's what drives a lot of this market, right?
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah.
All the memories, right? It's like our little one that was here. He wants to move these vehicles around every day and rearrange them, and, but it's making memories for him. So,
oh, yeah.
We just want to say thank you to today's sponsor, 3D Classic Car Parts. They make 3D printed truck parts for your classic truck. Check out 3dclassiccarparts.com.
That's going to carry the tradition on, of these metal vehicles, not a bunch of plastic vehicles, right? So,
Yeah. I remember as a kid going down home, and my dad's 64 F100 had I'm going to mess it up, 239 or 229 straight six, and the thing RPM'd because it was 3-speed or something, and the gears were 410s, and we're on I-44, and it would just be this loud noise, and I would just fall asleep to it, because it's it's kind of, I never thought, it's the noises and the smells and, as well as just the memories. It's they're tied together, it's
for sure.
So that's cool.
That we made over the holidays with Creamsicle, just talking about the memories that people have in trucks. The comments on that are just wild. I mean, it's all kinds of things that people come up with of why. And I mean, a lot of, probably 25% of it isn't even a Ford truck, because who really cares? They have a memory in something.
Yeah, no, yeah. I support that for sure.
Super cool.
I mean, I want them to drive Ford, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the truck behind you. We'll talk suspension here in a second. And I'm sure you have a lot of trucks, right? But what are a few that are the one you mentioned that you said's above me over here, technically, where the camera is?
Yeah.
What are some that you have that you sort of built or didn't build, or just memories? What's in your fleet?
Yeah, I mean, really, we look for the really nice original paint trucks, and if it's not that, we kind of just walk away from it because I mean, a truck can be painted 1,000 times. It's a painted and restored truck, right?
Yeah.
So you have the original paint on it from the factory. Just it's got a story to it, but. This one behind me is a 69. It's a F350. Started out life as a cabin chassis, Alaskan camper. Got an Alaskan camper on it. But what's kind of neat is that service bed and that camper has been on that truck since 1969.
Wow.
So it's all original. It was delivered to Alaskan camper, just cabin chassis. They had a company. I forget the name of the bed, but they had that company build that bed specifically for.
It's a utility bed, right? Kind of.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. So they color matched it to the truck and they installed the camper and it's lived that way its whole life, right? It's kind of neat. You open up the passenger side box and it's got fly fishing rod holders in it. And, in this box here, it's got propane, repeat propane bottles. It's all outfitted for, and it's got the roof rack for your canoe or your boat, right? So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I think we have 3 now with utility beds. Is that accurate?
We do. We have.
3.
So this one, what did he name this one? Duck Duck.
Duck Duck.
He named it Duck Duck.
Right now, that's his favorite truck.
Yeah, that is his favorite one right now. We have another one that's Big Bird, and then we have another one that's kind of, I guess,
Blueberry for now.
For now, it's Blueberry.
Because it smelled like blueberries.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe the names of your guys' trucks changed with your kiddo, Besides you naming it, he's like.
The guys at the shop named that one.
Really? Okay.
Because when they opened it up off the transport, it smelled like blueberries. But the best thing about these utility beds is opening all the doors and seeing what's in there. Yeah. Blueberry just had the best stickers. Inside.
That's what I was going to ask. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can never get rid of those.
No. My 64 has I'm not even a Cowboys fan, but it has a Cowboys sticker from, I think a radio station that existed in the 80s or something. And I can't get rid of that,
Right.
like, it's like, I can't, I got to keep that rusty, part as much as I can,
Yeah.
But what'd you call that truck? Creamsicle or something? What's that one?
Tim Hulick brought that one to us.
Oh, yeah.
Tim's the Bronco guy. Tim owns and manages the U13 registry. So if you have a roadster out there, you need to know Tim Hulick.
Yeah.
Okay.
He brought Creamsicle to us.
Yes. Yeah.
It was one of the first ones that we did.
And we have 2 more trucks he sent us too.
He's a little addicted now.
So,
Not because he's not selling them. I mean,
that's cool.
He has Creamsicle. I don't know what he's going to do with them, but I think the process has him hooked and what they turn into.
Well, he's a builder. I mean, like he's he's super busy in his business and he likes it's like most of us. It's like a lot of times it's about the build, but the good thing about trucks versus like a lowered 2-wheel drive on the ground, bump side truck, like it's just really hard to go on a road trip, right?
Yeah, you didn't say that at all with animosity. You're like,
no, I mean, I'm driven through like, I will never do a 2-wheel drive vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we're 3 and 3 4x4 people here. So, but again, it's just a usability, right?
Yeah.
Now you can hop in this truck and. It's not on the ground. You can drive down the interstate and not worry about a curb, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's harder for them rocks to bounce up and chip stuff.
It is,
right on the ground,
yeah.
Well, that's cool. So, what was the first chassis, full chassis that you guys built? When was that? 2018 or before that, or?
No, that was 2011.
Really?
Yeah, or was it 10 or 11? Yeah. So I used to build Bronco chassis as a ladder frame. So it was 2.5-inch tubes on top of each other. So it was like, a ladder frame. And that one hangs up in the shop, in the assembly shop right now. The very first frame I ever built.
That's cool.
Like a display, right? And I probably built 8 or 10 of those after that. And then I built a 4-door like that, a 4-door early Bronco.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of like, you really get really down in it. Just, the reason I built a fixture table is to build a 4-door Bronco, really.
Really?
to go to Alaska. Me and a buddy of mine was like, well, we want to go to Alaska. We want to go on our Broncos, but the Bronco's not big enough to haul all of our gear. So build a 4-wheel Bronco to have more room, right? So
Where'd you go? Anchorage or?
Huh?
Did you go to Anchorage or where'd you go?
No, we never went.
Oh, oh man.
Life has gotten in the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I want to go to Alaska pretty bad. So like what separates, a good chassis from a great chassis in your opinion?
I think it's, everybody's gonna be biased when it comes to that, right?
Yeah.
I think what separates us apart, that's, you can ask any company in America that makes chassis and they're going to say theirs is the best, right? And that's perfectly fine because they put their heart and soul and their passion into it, right? But I think what sets us apart from other companies is just what I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Just seeing it all the way through. You can't do everything like exceptionally well in life. You have to focus on things to make it the best, right? And I feel like that's where we're different when it comes, like, if you ask me to build a Corvette chassis, for one, I'm not going to do it, but I'd probably be horrible at it, because we don't have a passion for two-wheel drive, right?
That's true. Yeah, good point.
So, I feel like that's what sets us apart. We're just so focused on what we're doing.
You're not just good at it because of, various reasons, but it's because you're actually passionate about the Fords and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What about, where not to cut corners on chassis? I don't want to call out any other companies or anything, but like, people who build their own chassis or something like that. Where's someone like, where's a place to not cut corners?
I mean,
or that people do maybe that you shouldn't.
I think, I see a lot of chassis that are developed really, really quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the major problems. Like they build it one time and they put it on market and, they haven't really went back and did all the revisions and all the heartache that really what it takes to, it's like, oh, we designed it in CAD, it should work. No.
Yeah.
That gives you about 75% there, really at the end of the day. I mean, if you have a team of engineers like Ford has, I can see that working pretty well. But I mean, think about Ford. Right. I mean, Ford has their own issues and they spend billions of dollars to, develop a new platform, like say the new Bronco, right? And it has its problems, right? So, so it's one of those things like the more time you spend on it, the better it's going to be. But a lot of people don't want to spend the time because it costs money, right? They want to get to market, right? So,
would you say that's the most important part of building a chassis?
Yeah, I think so.
Time, like actually take the time.
Putting the work in on the front end, the work that nobody ever sees, right?
Yeah.
That's the real key, I think, is doing the work nobody ever sees.
Well, I got a great segue. Speaking of things that work that people can't see, when I went to your shop, you were like starting to look for something, and I was like, "What are you looking for?" And you've got like a flashlight, and then you like shined it. You like shined it on the chassis that was like at the last stage of getting built. And then it was like it was a black light, and you turned it on, and there was like, what was it, a blue and a red line, right? Yeah. And I was like, what? And it was literally like, tell us about that. Tell us like about the process and kind of what made you start that process.
Yeah. So, it's doing the hard work nobody actually sees, right? So kind of moving from that, right? So everyone, really that first 90% of anything in life, whether you're building, baking an apple pie or building a chassis or building a house or whatever it is, the first 90% is super easy. And a lot of people do it every day. The last 10% is what counts, right? And I always say the first 90% takes 10% of the time. The last 10% takes 90% of the time. And we focus on that every day. And, I have a lot of respect for Dale Earnhardt, but this is my saying in the shop. I'm not an Earnhardt fan as far as, I'm a Ford guy, right? But, super sad to see the way he went out, and I just say it's an Earnhardt effect, right? So after Earnhardt passed away, no one that I know of has passed away in NASCAR from an accident, right? Safer barrier walls, Hans device,
that's the neck thing he wasn't wearing, right?
Yeah. So the reason I say this is like when we have something go sideways to shop on quality control or whatever, because a lot of times in life you can't see all the things you need to put in place, like a safer barrier wall, right? They raced all these years without a safer barrier wall, right? So, or a Hans device. So once it happens, you put processes in place. And that's how the black light and the red and blue come about. It's just like, okay, how do you know that bolt's tight? Who installed that bolt? Does it have the red or blue Loctite on it that it should have? Right.
Yeah.
So what wrench was used to install it? What was the torque spec? So all that is documented along with a blue ink pen, the guy that signs off on that one lot item for that bolt. When he tightens it and he puts his blue mark on the bolt, he literally signs off in blue ink pen and he moves the next thing. Right. And then a QC guy comes behind him, checks his paperwork, checks to make sure the bolt is the spec, and he signs off, with a red ink pen and marks the bolt red. Right now, you got two times that's happened, and then there's a third thing. There's a third thing that actually happens at the very end, is a visual and quality check of just like overall appearance of the chassis. We want them all to go out, look, fit, and finish the same every time. Right, so it's not really QCing that black light, that quality control part. It's just a walk around. Are the e-brake cables? Is a fit and finish of how they're ran and how they go through the clamps and all those things, the way we like to see it every time it leaves the shop, right? So there's just like this known visual walk around.
We pack things so specifically in boxes and put them in the same places that a picture of a chassis before it goes into a trailer is worth a million anything else's, because we'll know if the customer says something is missing, whether it probably is or is not missing, or it just got set to the side in the garage.
And we do take pictures of everything too, and it gets archived with that ship.
Or like the shipper bashing it against the side of the wall or something or whatever. There's scrapes.
Yeah, but it's just not a picture of the box. It's a picture of the contents in the box. Right.
Yeah.
We've seen it all happen.
Yeah, it all happens, but from all the way from the laser table, from the flat sheet metal, the round tubing in the back, the square tubing, from the saw to the CNC press brake. Like CNC press brake, you have a first and last article check that has to get signed off by a supervisor, every time a part's bent, right? You think that's like, man, wouldn't that slow you down? But really it speeds you up, because then you don't have bad parts flowing through the shop. You're not welding bad things onto a chassis, right?
Saves you on the back end, yeah.
It does. And for when things go out to sandblast and powder, when it comes back from powder coat, I mean, we actually check the thickness of the powder coat, right? If it's too thick or too thin, it's no bueno, right? It's not going to happen. It goes back, it gets reblasted, and they redo it. Because we don't want to put parts on bad powder coat, right? So that's Earnhardt effect. So that's how that process got put in place, right? So, we didn't do that because we thought the powder coaters could do their job. Well, everybody has to be held accountable in life. So, it's not that we're being, tough on the powder coaters. It's just like we have
consistency.
To have consistency, right? So, how that happens, the Earnhardt effect, we got a chassis basically all the way together and had to blow it all back apart because the powder coat was too thick, and just in one little small area, the powder coat was flaking, right? So it's like, this is not what the customer paid us to do. So we take it back apart on our dime, all those things, because it's a set cost when a customer buys something, right? So just tear it all back apart and send it back out, and it's what has to happen. And that's what got that process in place, right? So again, back to the Earnhardt effect, every process we have in our shop, from, the quality control documents for the axle housings that we build from scratch in-house, that gets signed off before it goes to sandblast and powder. The frames get, double and triple checked from different stations to stations before it goes to sandblast and powder. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of moving parts and a lot of quality control.
It's a lot.
Emily is he OCD or
with that stuff?
I think you gotta be. I mean,
yeah, but overall in life, no.
Yeah,
right. I mean, it's just that I made that commitment to myself years ago.
Yeah,
produce the very best parts possible, and for the customer. Like, so you get a Bronco chassis from us with a powertrain, it's ready for a painted body to slip down over radiator and everything. It's ready, right?
Because you already have the documents from us as well for how to modify your body fit whatever powertrain you got. And that's what I was going to say before. We've had 2 customers call us within the past quarter saying that they wanted their chassis, their Bronco chassis, delivered fully assembled bare steel. And I'm sitting at my desk trying to process this, thinking, we can't do that. And I think that other chassis manufacturers must do that, but I don't know enough about what other people do to even say. But people think that they have to order things that way in the world of chassis because that's what they're used to seeing, and they're used to the quality potentially being that rough. that they have to pre-fit everything before it gets painted, coated, whatever. But we're not set up to do that. We're just set up to make it perfect from the beginning. So we've turned customers around to get fully assembled, coated chassis.
Yeah. I personally know one guy that had that done. And is there a clear powder coat or anything like that? He had it cleared or something,
you know? Yeah.
It's like a trend thing that's happening. I've seen it,
It sounds cool.
Yeah.
all the welds and the lines and the bends, and that's cool. So another part of the process, say if I was a customer or something, is that you handed me like a booklet of everything that you guys either did or checked, or the specs of it, and that right there, I was like, pretty amazing. And the reason for that is that a lot of people maybe don't do chassis because they are trying to find a way to justify the cost. They understand going with whatever company or whatever, that maybe it'll ride better. But like that right there was something like, I feel like that I personally was like, wow, like you're the only company that I've personally, spoke with that hands you this like warranty book almost, if that's the, name for it. And I thought, that's pretty cool,
right. Yeah, I mean, our chassis, they come with a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty from bumper to bumper, right? So that booklet has a table of contents, and that starts all the way back from flat sheet metal, from the time we cut the first parts for that chassis, and it goes to the fixture table. And it's, like I said, there's different steps. So each time it leaves that step, it gets a quality control document with it, because if it doesn't meet quality control, it can't move to the next step, right? So all that's in there, from the axle housings to the frame to the gas tanks. The gas tanks are welded and pressure tested. Then after they're pressure tested and stamped for the serial number on the gas tank so we can track it, it goes to the next process. It goes to subassembly after welding, and they do all the assembly work on it: fuel tank, sending unit, the fuel pump and sending unit. Then once it's fully assembled, they pressure test it again, right, after it's fully assembled. And that's with every tank that we do. So, from power steering pumps to steering linkage to every part, no matter how large, even the vent lines get quality control behind them, right?
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So everything's presented to the assembly shop. The assembly guys in the assembly shop itself, they're not looking for a bolt, nut, washer, anything. It's all presented to them on a cart, so everything's QC. Then all they have to focus on is actually putting the part on correctly and QCing their part of it, right? They're not having to QC the part or go find anything.
Yeah. That's cool.
But back to that packet that you talked about that's delivered. I know with every Bronco chassis, I'm not as familiar with how it's being delivered with trucks because they're driving away. But when that customer calls with a question or a problem, we then they have a copy of that packet. We have multiple copies of that packet, digital paper, that we can then have a conversation with them about.
Go to page 7. Yeah.
And we're looking at the exact same thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, even down to the width of the mounts are documented, right? We have a tolerance width of like the suspension link mounts, and it's all documented right there for the customer to see. The squaring of the chassis, the toe of the the toe is set. It's all in there.
What's wild is it's all in your head too, man. You're probably like, you all the parts you have like logged away in your guys' brains, Yeah. That's you gotta be smart to do that. So how much like math? Well, okay. How much math then is involved, in the chassis suspension area that's more than people think, or,
So that's a good question. So, there is a lot of geometry when it comes to suspensions, but let's get down to the level that really means something. Is so we don't build things with a tape measure, right? R&D does things with tape measures, right? In production, it's all fixtured, right? So that's the key for repeatability for a chassis, and the drivability of the chassis is that repeatability. So let's say you have a guy, say you got 20 fixture tables, right? You got 20 craftsmen, right? They all have different personalities, and they all read a tape measure differently, right? Yeah. And that's one thing that all tape measures in our shop are all the same brand of tape measure as well. There's not a Milwaukee tape measure and then a Stanley tape
Really? I would have thought of that. That's cool.
They're nothing fancy. They're just Stanley.
They're
But they're all
12-foot
the same.
Stanleys. And so you'd be surprised how many tape measures are not all created equally the same.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So R&D is where everything happens as far as fixtures, and then it gets presented, over to the fab shop to make it, right? So really try to keep tape measures out of the fab shop as much as possible. There's calipers and things like that at the press brake for checking, when they're bending things on the press brake, because you have to, have a first and last quality check at the press brake. But very rarely are we and the reason I said those 20 fixture tables is because a lot of companies out there build that way. They have a blueprint, right? And they have this multi-hole, chassis table, this fixture table, and they set some frame rails up there, and they take a tape measure and they square them up, right? And they get these parts presented to them, and they start building this chassis. And they might be building a Vega chassis one day and a Camaro the next, and a whatever the next day, right? And at the end of the day, there's a lot of human error that goes into those chassis because of that. So, you might have a chassis one day that drives, say it's 5 different Camaro chassis, well, it's going to drive differently, and it's going to fit differently, and it's going to do all those things because, Tommy built it one day and Billy built the next one the next day. And it's going to basically have their personality into that chassis of how much attention to detail do they really have. So that's where we really try to change the game of fixtures versus, and that's the whole falls back to that, being focused on one thing and trying to do it really, really well versus
10%.
a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I think that's where our chassis, stand out more.
Yeah.
Consistency behind everything.
Well, I also think it's like your guys' customer service, if that's the phrase I should choose, just your guys' interaction with your customers. I'm sure a lot of them ask, tons of questions and things like that. And so it kind of made me think, I was like, what is the most misunderstood aspect of, say, suspension geometry? You know what I mean? Someone might come in there and be like, well, they'll get real detailed with you possibly, but you're like, in theory, yeah, but no, that's not how it works or whatever. What's the most misunderstood, aspect of it? What'd you say? What? What'd you say?
Drive shaft angles.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean,
really?
Yeah. The comments that we get it's crazy at shows. It's like, man, look at that drive shaft angle. And I'm thinking, okay, for one, it has semi-active tractive shocks that
are stiff.
They're stiff. So when we build chassis, they're hanging, right? So the axles are hanging, the shocks go on, everything's at full droop. And when you let that chassis down, it doesn't even really compress because the valves are completely closed, for one. But even, let's say you just had a normal, shock on it, right? It's going to sit down a little bit further, but there's no body on it. There's no fuel, there's no interior. Even if we have an engine in it, doesn't really compress that much. And then, especially if it's coilover, a lot of times coilovers, you need to drive a coilover vehicle, 15, 20, 30 miles to really get those to settle in, sometimes more than that, before you do a spring change. A lot of times they're like, oh, let's just throw these springs on there and it's going to work. There's wheel frequencies that we come into play to get the spring rate right, which no one else ever does. Most people don't know what a wheel frequency is. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
So, it's just kind of comical about the drive shafts.
What else is there? That's every day.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean,
I hear a lot of debate between body lift to suspension lift and things like that. Do you guys get that?
I can talk about that on Broncos, right? I mean, we don't do body lifts on trucks. We do a built-in body lift on our frames for early Broncos.
Yeah.
We do the frame, the bumper mounts are raised as well, so you don't have body gaps. On your bumpers and to the grill and to the tailgate. But what's interesting is the chassis sitting behind us is the Freeway Series. That's from stock ride height to a 3.5-inch lift. Anywhere in between you want it. But the other kicker is all other companies want you to change the oil pan, all this stuff, but we can run a Coyote at stock ride height, right? And stock oil pan, no problem. But where the body lift kind of comes into play is really for the engine, for the Coyote engine, the clearance fluid. Even forward in the stock, the anemic 302s that came in these things, they did an offset air cleaner because the body wasn't up high enough to actually put a 14-inch air cleaner on it, right? So they did this offset air cleaner set over the passenger fender well. So it's only about that tall, so about maybe 1.5 inches. It comes off the carburetor and then like a little metal snorkel over to the filter. So I think that was like what do we do? The air cleaner doesn't fit on this Bronco. And they come up with our solution with this, so again, it's engine fitment, and where the body lift also helps, it looks like a suspension lift, right, on ours because we raise the bumper mounts, right? So effectively, it looks like suspension lift. But the neat thing about it is you don't have to do as much suspension lift to get the look you want, and that keeps the center of gravity in your powertrain lower, right? So a lot of people don't want to do the body lifts; they want to do suspension lift because they want the gaps, right? So you could go with a 2-inch body lift and an 1.5 inch suspension. Now it looks like you have a 3.5 inch lift, but your powertrain's only 1.5 inches higher than stock was, right? So it keeps your center of gravity a lot lower. Drivability goes up. A lot of good things happen with that, right?
Sounds like that's the right way to lift, than doing the other.
It is, and it's just
or safe way to lift, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, body lifts get a bad rap because of all the body gaps, and you can spot one a mile away if it's done that way. But yeah, it just really helps. There's a lot of good advantages to the body lift for the early Bronco. Now trucks, we've never done body lift on a truck, right?
Yeah.
Really no reason to. You could, I guess, but not really. Yeah.
You mentioned, sounds like you got levels of suspensions that people can order, or chassis rather.
Yeah.
Tell us about what those are.
Do you want to differentiate a little bit between like Broncos with the full roller and trucks? Like walk through the Broncos and the trucks? Because that is a question that we get a lot.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
So Broncos, we build full brand new chassis for Broncos. Of course they're licensed by Ford, but so we do a classic series, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a stock replacement frame. It's stock radius arms, leaf spring rear, but it still has the advantage of being 2 inches wider inside the frame rails. So if you did want to put a 351 Windsor in there or something like that, it's going to, the headers are going to fit better, or a Cleveland or something. Somebody's doing something old school, right? So that's a classic series. And then we have a hybrid series, which is a mix between the classic series and the freeway series. So a hybrid is your front half of the freeway series with our new front axle and a long arm kit, and the caster is built into the radius arm, so it's super easy to adjust caster. Your camber's all done on the upper ball joint, so trying to do both there. It has leaf springs rear from the classic series, so it's kind of morphed those two chassis together a little bit for the hybrid series. Freeway series is 4-linked rear, coil springs rear, and that coil spring in the rear is adjustable, and we do that. It's 2.5 inches of adjustment. So that's from 0 to 3.5 inches of lift, but each spring comes different for each lift. And we try to shoot in the middle of that adjuster so you can raise the vehicle up or down a little bit, depending on if you have plate bumpers, tire carriers, hard tops or no hard tops, to get the rake of the vehicle exactly what you want. And that's super hard to do with a leaf spring truck, right? You're taking leaves out, you're adding leaves, it's adding a block or trying to take a block out. It's just kind of a Band-Aid all the way around, when this really dials in the vehicle for the customer super easy. And then we have the Adventure series. That's our full coilover chassis, front and rear, 4-linked rear, radius arm front. That one's always a 3 to 3.5 inch suspension lift, just due to the coilovers and the way everything fits. You're not going to run that one at stock rod height. So that one is more of what it's said to be, Adventure series.
We just want to say thank you to today's sponsor, 3D Classic Car Parts. They make 3D printed truck parts for your classic truck. Check out 3dclassiccarparts.com.
To go off-road, go faster.
Is it more adjustable for people that like to tweak things?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. If you mess with a little bit, the spring rates and things like that, it's more adjustable in that manner. But with the semi-active tractive shocks that we have,
you don't really want to.
Yeah, I mean, that is all in cab and it updates every 6 to 10 milliseconds. So if you want your rod to be super, super firm, it's a push of a button. And to really have people understand the difference, right? There's a lot of suspension systems out there that have in-cab controls, okay? But the difference is, this is semi-active. And let's clarify semi-active versus active. People want to use the word active very loosely, right? Active, the only way a suspension can be active is to have sensors on the front of the vehicle, and it reads the road and the turns and the potholes before you actually encounter the pothole, okay? So it has to know the pothole's coming for it to be active. Semi-active is basically it's reactive. Okay, that's why we say it's 6 to 10 milliseconds. It's how fast it will react to a pothole. Okay, or a turn or a brake dive. or if you're launching the vehicle out of the hole, it's going to, but it's constantly updating 6 to 10 milliseconds all the time, changing the valving constantly. So you could have your valving set super soft for the interstate, but your pitch and roll really heavy. So if you had to stop really quick on the interstate or change lanes really quickly, it's going to instantly stiffen up the vehicle and keep you under control. And once you get out of that maneuver and you're back settled again, there's no G forces or movement, it goes back to the soft setting automatically. We have 5 presets. You can it's like radio stations. You can set your dampening level and your pitch and roll on 5 different settings. So you could have like an interstate mode. You could have a back road type mode. You could have a sport mode. So anyone that says they have active suspension is really lying to you, because
Semi-active.
it's semi-active. And let's talk about how fast it reacts and what it's doing. So a lot of times in-cab controls are done with stepper motors externally. On like, you'll see a stepper motor outside of the shock, and it just steps from one valve to another, right? So it's like a clicker shock, right? It's not active. So, hi T. So,
But I wanted to talk how tractive makes it hard to answer that. Like, which chassis drives that? I find it very hard to answer that.
yeah, very is hard. It is hard to answer, but there's a lot of like misconceptions about shocks and active and semi-active, but you really need to dig in because this valve is on the piston of the shock. It's called a DDA valve. It's a patented valve. Literally no one else in the world can make a valve like this to go on the piston of the shock. It's their design. We've partnered with them to bring it to North America. We've in the off-road world, but also, so we're actually, I know I don't do anything in 2-wheel drives, but we're bringing it to the off-road market as well. So the guys in, like autocross and those things, so it's going to be a separate division of Kincer. As far as like going out to shows and things, it'll be its own trailer and everything to make awareness about the shocks market, right? So, but yeah, it just totally changes the game of how a vehicle rides and drives. And I kind of, it's kind of a silly thing that I say. It creates a seat for every butt, right? If you hop in Bo here, right, you're gonna be like, oh, well, that's you got a little too much body roll for me. Okay, well, let me just go to this setting. And it takes all the body roll out, right? Or, whatever your liking is for the way you want a vehicle to handle, it's there, right? So
that's pretty amazing. Man, you're blowing my mind on this stuff. That's awesome, dude. My next question, you just answered it. I said, how did you find the balance between street comfort and performance? And you just answered that right there, man.
Yeah.
Guys, you want to know that question? Roll back. There you go. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, just create a seat for every butt, and the shocks are not cheap, but let me kind of touch on that for a second. If you take say like an adventure series or any coilover shock or any shock at all, and you take it to a shop for them to tune the shock for your liking, right? So they're going to tune that shock, it's going to take a day or two until you may need to drive the vehicle and be present. So that's time away from whatever you're doing, right? To get that balance. So think about NASCAR or any type of auto sport, any track, whether it's, Road Atlanta or whatever. They're going to set that car up specifically for that track, right? And the key is it's going to be really good in one part of the track, but it's not going to be as good in another part of the track because, well, it's good at the straightaways, or it's slow in the straightaways, but it's really good in the curves, right? So again, you with tractive, it's going to be really good down the straightaway. It's going to be really good in the curves. But if you're having to pay for this tuning on a shock, and you take the shock off and you take it apart and you change the valving, you put it back together, it's for that one specific application, for that track, for that whatever you're doing. So that's going to cost you $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 for one session of getting your shocks tuned, right?
Wow,
a professional to do that, right? So now you have this at your fingertips, and you can change it anytime you want for whatever conditions you want, right? So for the whole life of the vehicle, right? So for whoever's driving it, Emily likes her Bronco to be real soft and plush. I like for it to be a little more firm. We were going through the curves. I was like, I said, Bobo's our corner carver, and we're going through the mountains with 35s, around these corners, and it's just like a slot car,
Yeah.
When you push from you push M3, memory 3, and go from super soft to super firm, you feel the personality of the Bronco change.
Literally in
it's really weird, but you have to sit in the seat to understand.
You have to sit in the seat to understand it. Yeah.
That's cool. I feel like, if you get the whole package with you guys, engine and everything, not only can you hit the buttons for suspension, you can hit the button, for your sport mode on your Coyote, possibly, depending or whatever, right? That's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like you get the mixture of like, old classic, but also, comfort but what's with an extra aspect of like, I'm feeling kind of saucy today. I'm gonna go sport and I'm gonna go memory, whatever, make that sucker, that's really cool, man. That's really cool. So what is the, maybe you're proud of it, but what's the most common feedback you get after people on their first drive? You kind of mentioned it earlier, but.
Well, I mean, for trucks, we can talk about trucks because of Brad, driving the trucks. And man, it's literally, it's an aha moment. Literally every time I go from super soft to super stiff. And the whole vehicle and the whole characteristic of the vehicle just changes underneath you. And it's just this aha moment. They're like, oh, wow, I get it. And you're just driving down the road. Like, we're not even going around corners. I'm just driving straight down the road and I go from soft to stiff. And they're just like, yeah, that's crazy. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
And now they fully understand, like, the power in that shock, right? And what it can do for them. So,
but in general, with trucks and Broncos,
what do you think?
I mean, I think for the Broncos, we don't finish them typically at the shop. Every once in a blue moon in SEMA or something. But when customers get the Bronco totally together and they or their builder finally has it where it needs to be, I mean, we're going to admit there's going to be adjustment that's going to be needed. We're going to help with that as much as we can, whether it's in the steering box or with the shock setup or whatever it might be. But once it's right, it's like you have control of that vehicle, even with the Coyote powertrain, is how it should be when it's right. If somebody calls us and says that they or their wife is scared driving their Bronco, to us, there's something wrong because it shouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's done correctly.
Right.
And we can't control all of it because we don't finish.
You didn't finish it. Yeah. Which is kind of nice going with you guys if they can send you the truck. Is that
they can. So that's what we've done.
It's tested. Yeah.
Bunch, but maybe once or twice a year, a customer will send their truck back to us.
Well, what'll happen is a builder will build the truck for them. Right. Every builder's different. Every builder's got different personalities and where they do business. And so at the end of the day, they want to get that vehicle out of their shop and get paid, right?
Yeah.
And so it gets delivered to them with 10 or 20 miles on it, right? And
that last 10%.
That last 10%, even though we did all we could do, right? And we're like, hey, just get it to the shop and we'll take care of it for free. We'll drive it, we'll dial it in for you and send it back and no charge to you, right? It's just we stand behind the product, right? So, and we can't help. I understand a builder is trying to, move along and get out the door and all those things, but at the end of the day, that person is our customer, right? They bought it from us, and we're going to do all we can do to make sure that we see it 100% all the way through.
And that doesn't happen super often where we bring them back, but I think 98% of builders are super great to deal with, and they will call and they'll ask the questions and they'll listen to the advice and they'll go forth and produce a really good product. But there's always that few percentage that is too proud to listen. And it is what it is in this industry. So then that's when we end up having to come in to make sure that our name has a good reflection, because we put our logo on our chassis and that's what you're driving. That's connection. It's where I said steering box earlier because we struggled for a minute with steering boxes, I think during COVID.
Because we were only as good as our suppliers, because we're not a steering box manufacturer.
We're really only as good as that steering box because that's where that steering wheel connects to.
Yeah. It really is true. I mean, that steering box has a lot of input into the end user, so it's very critical that it's right. Because a lot of people are used to, hopping out of their Denali or hopping out of their new whatever vehicle, and it is night and day difference in the way it's a 92-inch wheelbase on a Bronco. Short, narrow track wheelbase, and a lot of vehicles today are not that short or that narrow, right? So, and most every vehicle today has a steering rack. I think your truck has a steering rack, right? Yeah. So
I had to think about it for a second.
Because your truck's independent in the front, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got a steering rack. Yeah.
So I think we talk about all this Bronco stuff because we've had so many years to refine it and figure it out before we looked at anything else. So now trucks are here. But we figured out all this stuff on Broncos.
So we've taken a lot of our knowledge from Broncos and implemented it in the trucks. And it's worth it. I mean, I'm going to say this, and it's going to be a biased comment because it's our product, but for like bread, the super cab, I drove that truck with a twin I-beam under it. And a lot of people know that those trucks drive pretty well with twin I-beams, right? You know, the way they steer and the way they drive, especially not a wore out truck, right? So
yeah,
it's got 34,000 original miles on it, and it drove really, really nice when I got it, right? I mean, cream puff. So then I was like, okay, I want to drive this and get a baseline for the 4-wheel drive conversion. And I honestly can say it did not decline at all, right? Actually, I feel like it got better with the tractive shocks. But before then, you know, it's like just the drivability and driving on the road at 80 or 90 miles an hour, you're just as comfortable in that truck as you would be a new vehicle. So, you know, you can keep up with traffic, you can, you know, do all the things like just a normal vehicle. And by default, so I'm sure, you know, I don't know that everyone knows this, but the longer the wheelbase and the wider the track width, those contact points are further apart on the pavement. By default, it's going to ride and drive better by default, you know. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I feel like we just, you know, stepped the game up for the F-Series trucks. And, you know, we do use original frame rails. We do retain that VIN. That's a real critical thing in some states. A lot of guys are doing these '08 nut swaps. You know, if you're never going to sell a vehicle, I think it's it's whatever you want to do, right? But if you're building a vehicle to sell or potentially sell one day, a lot of states are, you know, they don't like to see 2 VIN numbers on a vehicle. It's not a great thing. They'd rather see no VIN number on a frame, like a new frame, and a VIN number, you know, of the cab, right?
Yeah.
And there's mechanisms for that. But when they have 2 VIN numbers, they really don't have mechanisms for that, right? So is this an '08 truck or is this a 1975 truck? So
I got problems with that in Missouri for inspections. My VIN has to match,
Right.
you know, and I'm like, oh, so that's kind of a bummer. Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of answered this question already, but on your suspensions, do you only do straight axle or IRS, you know, or I guess, you know,
Yeah. So I mean, you know, right
IFS
now,
or
right now it's all straight axle, right?
Okay.
You know, we have produced an electric Bronco with independent rear, right? So, you know, that's all I can say about that right now.
I try to avoid it, you know, because I didn't know if it was something we could talk about. I hinted at it, you know. For sure. That's cool. Do you do that out of just preference because you're sticking to the 4-wheel drive type thing when sticking with the straight axles?
I mean, yeah, I mean it's definitely I mean there's a reason Ford stuck with a straight axle in their trucks, right? You know, I mean, if you want a car truck, go buy a Chevrolet and get you independent front, you know, F-250.
Yeah.
You know, but I know F-150s are independent front. You know, but really, like, I mean, super robust, get the work done. That's going to be a Ford F-250 or F-350 with straight axle. I don't think we're independent from Ford in the front, but you know, just, you know, for us, as far as like the future, we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what happens.
Yeah,
we're, you know, we got some things coming out. So
I was going to say too, you kind of figured out the comfort parts. So that's usually why people might be like, oh, I don't know about the whole straight axle is because, you know, usually a firmer ride, you know, whatever, maybe because they have leaf springs or whatever. But so let's say, you know, a customer, you know, is wanting to, and it seems like you have package deals and it seems like, you know, there are rooms for people to check boxes and not check boxes. When someone's looking at purchasing one of your guys' chassis, you know, suspension, whatever, what is something that customers do that you know, recommend that they don't? Like, for example, maybe cost is something. They'll just, oh, I won't go with that because, you know, whatever. Like, what's something that is common that customers do that you advise that you're like, hey, you should do this. You'll love it in the, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
front axle.
So our front axle's got a lot of development in it with our radius arms and the way we do things with caster. And there's some other things I'm not going to speak about because it is a secret sauce to our front axle.
Right.
But, you know, that's the real big thing is and it really we use a 9-inch front. So we call our front axle a hybrid axle. So it's a 9-inch front with, you can have 1/2 ton outers or 3/4 ton outers, or we can even do Dana 60 fabricated inner C's and outer knuckles with F450 unit bearings for trucks. Yeah. Right. So, you know, there are a lot of options there. We can even, you know, for instance, like Matt Kubik, you know, when he did that front axle for Chris Rutledge for that motorhome, you know, that was a dually front axle, right? So that was a Dana 60 fabricated inner and outer C's and knuckles. And, you know, Man, it was super beefy, right? As far as
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's that front axle's really where it's at. And as far as fitment, it's like a Super Duty axle is a high pinion. There are advantages to high pinions, but we've reduced so much stuff with a low pinion 9 inch in the front. Everyone's like, well, why don't you run a high pinion 9? I'm like, okay, well, when you're wheeling or you're towing something or whatever you're doing with that, it's about 70-30. You're on about 70% load on the rear and 30% in the front. You are running on the coast side of the gear. We'll clear this up right now so everybody can always refer to this video and know that the front is running on the coast side of the gear. But how many people have taken an old Ford truck with a car on it on a trailer or a camper and backed up a hill with their Ford truck, right? And it was 2-wheel drive, right?
Yeah.
Tons of load. And you're running on the coast side of the gear in reverse, right? No one complains about that, right?
Yeah.
So, there's trucks in the Ultra 4, King of the Hammers running front 9 inches on the coast side of the gear and no problems, right? So
Yeah.
if you're going to run more high speed, like in 4 high, a lot of things like that, you might want to have some oiling baffles and things to get oil up to that bearing because it's turning the wrong direction, but for the front pinion. But overall, we use that because of packaging. It allows us to do a lot of different types of packages and keep the vehicles lower. The one thing I think really, really helps, like on trucks while they drive so great, if you take a factory 4x4, say a 79 F-150, right? That's a factory 4x4 versus a 79 2-wheel drive that's converted to our 4-wheel drive, right? The height of the engine is so different in those trucks. So you can do a powertrain swap. We have all the mounts and everything to do that for a factory 4x4. But the engine sits so much higher in the chassis for an OEM factory 4x4 truck versus our conversion. Man, we really put that engine way down in between the frame rails. And now your CG's lower. The truck, the fault is going to handle and drive better. It just makes all the difference in the world. So that is a huge key. And that front axle allows us to do that. If you have this high pinion Dana 60, it's really hard for packaging. You got to make a really tall truck out of it. And if you want to drive one every day, you want to drive nice and be comfortable. So
yeah. You're using a lot of abbreviations. CG means center of gravity. If anybody would
does.
I love the techie stuff, man. I love it. So you guys been in this for a while. What's like a trend in the industry that's, for lack of a better word, like overrated? We get a giggle out of Emily.
I don't know. I mean, like
people ask, and you're like,
I mean, just overall, what we're
drive
trying
shaft angle. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, clearly. We're trying to build really, really drivable trucks. I mean, we see a lot of people building show trucks just for show. It's not a trend. People have been building show trucks forever.
Right.
But like
how about
go ahead.
Yeah, like how about like they want to change everything that you've done. They want to modify from factory, as from your guys' factory. Is that something that maybe people want to do? And you're like, no, we're about drivability or anything like that.
No, I mean, really, no one really ever really wants to change anything.
Or they just wouldn't call us.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I guess
you guys have been clear, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't really like what we're doing or whatever, they just wouldn't call us, right?
Yeah.
People do not come in trying to change the way we set up the architecture of the suspension or anything like that. So,
cool. How has the chassis world changed over the years? Suspension chassis world.
There's a lot more people in the market than when I started.
Yeah.
I was told I would never make it building chassis for Broncos. I've been told that several times.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, my next question. Yeah, go ahead.
I think frame 800 is probably going through fab right now.
Yeah, just for early Broncos.
We just delivered 1797 and 98.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, that kind of, you mentioned it already. What does it take to, survive and succeed, in this industry?
Customer service.
That's what I'm looking for, Yeah.
Answering the phones and getting back to people quickly as we can, whether they're contacting us for the first time or they're contacting us because they have a problem.
Yeah.
We do our very, very, very best. Nights, weekends.
Yeah. We do. It's 24/7, really.
Really, yeah.
And the biggest thing, is at the end of the day, we do have a lot of repeat customers. And at the end of the day, we want them not to be customers. Like my very first restoration I ever did for someone, literally we went and met with him just the other day, Tim Scott, my very first ever build, right, for a customer. And done a lot of work for him, in the past years. But the big thing is like, we still want to be able to sit down and have dinner and, you know, all those things. Like it's just not just one time thing. Like we want that customer to become a friend, right? That's the main thing. We don't put ourselves out there a lot. Like this is the second podcast I've ever done in my life. And, you know, so we don't really talk about it very much, you know, it's just like, we want to be very organic and just let it naturally happen. And could we be chasing, you know, a lot of the things? I think we're 43 or 45 employees right now. We were at 53 at one time, headed back that way. You know, so it's, you know, it's just one of those things where we just want to make sure everybody at the end of the day is a friend, not just a customer that, oh, well, that was an experience. We'll never do that again. You know, I want them to be like, man, that was an awesome experience. I want to do it again.
Well, right? It seems like you guys sell an experience. You know, that's what I'm gathering here is that sometimes people, when they go in to do a big, you know, change like that on their truck or something like that, or just any purchase, you know, the part that they're thinking about is how is the experience going to be, you know, either pre, you know, during, post, you know, things like that. And you guys really hit up all those, you know, those parts. I feel like the beginning is you know, very understanding in the middle, and then of course at the end is the, you know, all of the stuff that they get to ensure that, you know, the quality check and the customer service and the booklet, and just like it sounds like, you know, even like if something happens to just not be perfect, you guys already have an experience ready for that of a good customer service, which is, you know, kind of that's pretty cool for sure. I know, like when I came over, I was really impressed by it all, and that's sort of like, you know, before we started this podcast, I was like, I really want to talk about the suspension, you know, fun techie side of it, you know. And part of the reason I wanted to do that was also that, like, talking with you guys is that you guys have other elements, you know, that I haven't even thought of before, you know what I mean, that you guys have down or that should be there, that, you know, everyone should expect or whatever. But with that being said, let's say a customer or someone's building their truck, what is some advice that you would give them or them wanting to build their truck? You know, like
that's going to be one, you need a truck, right?
Done. Okay, cool. Good advice. I'm just kidding.
All right. So, I mean, but there's a lot to that though. Like, you know, it depends on what your wants and needs are at the end of the day. It's a super critical thing when purchasing a truck. Like, do you want to go through the whole process of paint and body and interior and all those things? Like, do you have the budget for that? Right. So that's one thing you need to think about. Buying an original paint truck, it's going to cost more on the front end. And man, it's going to save you so much on the back end.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah.
And an original paint truck, it's, you know, people are like, why do you say that, Thomas? And it's like, well, it's true. It's like standing there naked in front of a crowd, right? And you're getting judged. That's what you're doing when you see that original paint truck. There's no, it shows for what it is, right? If there's a rust hole, you know, it's a rust hole, right? Yeah. Or if you know there's, you know, the mirrors broke off or whatever, it is what it is. And you can make a really good decision if you want to buy that truck or not. But if you find a truck that's been painted and there's no history to back it up, no build documentation, no photos. Yeah. You know, I see it time and time again. People buy trucks and it's just like, they look good in the picture. When you get them, you can see the Bondos popping and all these things. And it's like, well, I paid, you know,
they look good in the picture. Yeah.
You know, and now you got to strip the whole thing down and redo it, or try to sell it and move on, you know. But that's the first thing that people need to really pay attention to.
Yeah, I would I find if I was, you know, buying a truck, I find the bullet hole more why is this bullet hole here? Then it is a new-ish, possibly done well paint job or body work or whatever. Also, that's gonna be the hook intro for this, is like, so you're standing there naked in front of your truck. No, I'm teasing. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah. Okay, so what's your favorite body style of truck? Both of you.
What's yours? I think I know.
I like the bread extended cab.
That's not what I thought you'd say.
You were going to think I said
I forget, what year is that?
73 to 79.
Yeah. So you like the dent sides.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't had one of those come through the shop yet, though.
I know. We have Big Bird.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What year's Big Bird?
65.
Yeah, I do like that body style better, but we just haven't gotten to know one yet. So I could shift there.
Yeah.
We're talking to a customer who will definitely watch this on Monday, who might be sending us his 66.
Oh yeah.
Crew cab.
Yeah.
So I might fall in love with that one. I don't know. I kind of fall in love with all the trucks that come through the shop. It's a problem. So
At least you're addressing it. No, I was kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's yours? What's yours, Thomas?
So that's pretty easy. I feel like I like all of them the same, but here's why. And it's pretty simple. I mean, I've had an emotional attachment to like all the body styles, even if the 94, right?
Yeah.
The first truck. But I think it's all really about the same. But I think it's the name Kincer Chassis, right? So my passion lies underneath that body, right? Mm-hmm. So I love all of them. I mean, it's not like it's like, oh, I got to have that 67 truck, right? So really it's what lies underneath it, right? The chassis. Mm-hmm. That's what wakes me up every day. I think about it 24/7. It never stops, right? So I know it's not really the answer he was looking for, but it's really the true answer for me.
So you kind of answered this one too, I guess. But what is like, and I say build, like we've said, you guys don't necessarily do body work, but what is a truck that you haven't built that you want to, or that hasn't come through the shop? Maybe that's a better.
So we haven't built a slick yet. I mean, my dad's got a slick. I mean, when I was 14 or 15, we built it, but I mean, Big Bird's there, waiting to turn in line.
Yeah, that line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, that's probably the one. I mean, we've done all the other ones.
What about Dream? What about Dream?
We've even done a 95 with a Godzilla swap. Mm-hmm. So
really?
Yeah.
We delivered that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
We just want to say thank you to today's sponsor, 3D Classic Car Parts. They make 3D printed truck parts for your classic truck. Check out 3dclassiccarparts.com.
Oh, that's a nice truck. It was like 50,000 original miles, I think that truck was.
He's local too, so we might see that at the
show.
Yeah.
Cool. What about you guys aren't really into this, but have you guys ever had any, famous customers? Or maybe there's a famous person you wouldn't mind coming by to have you guys build something.
Yeah, so Miles Teller, he didn't actually call the shop, but his people called the shop. And I got really flustered.
That's funny.
Miles has one of our Bronco. He has a whole package, Bronco chassis and body from us that's being finished out.
Really?
For him.
Yeah, and this really awesome guy's been in the film industry, car industry for the film industry, is building it for him. And he's like, how old's George?
85,
something like that. And
wow,
just super awesome guy building the Bronco for him. And Miles lost his Bronco in the fires, right?
Yep.
So he wanted to build a new one. So then, as you know, we've done one for Jay Leno, right? So
that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. So
tell us about that actually. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just a super, super great host. I mean, we were hesitant, like, how are we going to go out there? So we did a tractive shock upgrade because when we originally built that truck back in 19, it was at SEMA, the Bronco.
His Bronco.
Yeah. So we built the Bronco back in 19 for Jay, and we worked with Ford on that. It was on the Ford stage and did the whole deal on there with him. But we were not partnered with Tractive at the time. We had Fox shocks on it, and we wanted to put Tractive shocks on it for him. So we flew out there. It was out there for 4 days in his shop.
Yeah. Total. So that Bronco has 760 horsepower. It's a lot.
It's
on the 92, 93 inch wheelbase that we produce, Adventure Series,
and it's a 5-speed. So it's pretty
handful.
It's pretty rowdy. Right. It's pretty rowdy.
Very nice.
We just knew that we could, offer an upgrade and really tame the 760 horsepower. And it really did. I mean, it's just exactly, you remember the secret sauce I was telling you about the front axles and stuff. Like we took some secret sauce with us for the front axle, but ended up not having to really use it. After we did the shock change and stuff, it got us to where we needed to be. So, we were just like, well, maybe this one didn't have the secret sauce done all the way. So, but really we put the shocks on and it did exactly what we thought it was going to do. But Jay is super, super great host. Our little one T went with us
for like a whole week.
We
hung out in that garage. He was all over the place.
Yeah, he was all over the place. He was sleeping under the creepers, and like Jay took him back to one of the back rooms, him and Emily, and just like drug out some Hot Wheel tracks and instead of Jay setting up Hot Wheel tracks for him, and like it was
cool. What an experience! Yeah,
it really was. Yeah,
that's really cool.
He's so super grateful for everything. That we did because I mean, did we have to go back out there to make the Bronco drive handle perfectly? We didn't, but we wanted to.
Yeah, because then
Yeah, that's okay.
We'll
Yeah.
have a pleasant
Yeah.
experience.
yeah, and the thing
Yeah.
is, it's his first 4-wheel drive vehicle he's ever owned in his life.
Wow, really?
So, for us to have an upgrade, that's what we want to do, is to go out there and because things do evolve over time, and that's what I feel like it's the right thing to do, and that 760 horsepower is just a handful with a 5-speed. I mean, it's just it's a different animal, right? Versus an automatic. So
wow. Well, that's cool.
We have not done in a truck yet. Is that a
So
true statement?
we are.
We are.
Yeah,
coming
we
up?
got one
Okay.
coming up. It's a 29,000 original mile, 70. I think it's a 70. It's not a 69. It's a 70, I believe. Original bucket seat truck, black with white bucket seats, and yeah, it's a beautiful truck. I mean, we actually took it apart this week.
What's it going to have?
So Godzilla with a 5-speed.
TR 4050.
TR 4050, Tremec TR 4050 with an Atlas transfer case.
We get that comment a lot on social. It'd be better with manual transmission.
Do you guys prefer manual over automatic or automatic over manual?
I mean,
Depends.
it really, like,
You guys, what do you
90
prefer?
90, I'm gonna say not 98. I'm gonna say 99% of the time it's an automatic.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
get more out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, this truck was originally a straight shift, and the customer wants to keep it a straight shift. It's his dad's truck, and there's a lot of things going behind it there that makes sense to keep it a straight shift, right? So we're super excited about the project. It's just an awesome truck, bucket seat truck. It's just sweet,
That's cool.
untouched. So, but not doing anything. That's the thing, though, Craig, is this truck's got 29,000 original miles on it, and like it runs, but it don't run great. Like I have to move it around the parking lot and this sort of thing. But you wouldn't want to hop it in and drive it to town to go eat dinner or anything. But now they'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's really cool. I meant to ask, is there a place that people can see the truck or video or anything like that of Jay Leno's truck you guys build him?
Yeah. On his YouTube, there's
I thought so. Yeah.
2, 3, 4 videos out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes
cool.
they're embedded as part of a bigger video.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's at least 1 or 2 out there that's just our Bronco or his Bronco.
Can we find it on your socials or anything? Did you guys ever
Isn't it still on the
collaborate?
homepage?
I think it's still pinned on the homepage. Yeah, it's probably pinned on our YouTube too. Which we're
Is
not
it?
big
Okay.
YouTubers, but
Yeah.
we should
I talked to one company that says that they get a lot of leads from YouTube.
bet.
So, people that are interested in either purchasing or having it built or put together or whatever. 2 more questions. Maybe 2. Yeah, 3 more questions. Coyote or Godzilla? You guys, what do you prefer?
It depends on what you want to do and what you're.
And what?
Yeah, and what?
Which is a better motor?
Yeah.
It depends on what you want to do, right?
It is. It really is. So I can explain that. And this is how we differentiate them.
Yeah.
I mean, the Coyote is a high revving 4-cam engine, right?
Smooth. Yeah.
Very smooth, right? But the Godzilla is super smooth as well, but it's low revving, high torque in stock form, right? So it pairs so well with the trucks. The Godzilla does.
Yeah. Okay.
We do Godzillas for early Broncos as well, and 78, 79 Broncos as well. So, but we've put one Coyote in an F-Series truck to date. They've all been Godzilla. So
Interesting.
But when we do R&D, we're always fitting up both.
we put up both every time. Yeah.
Really?
So whatever application it is, if they want a Coyote, we can definitely do that. But again, that's just all the background work that nobody sees, right? Do the hard work nobody's looking at. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, everyone goes with a Godzilla. It's just they're absolutely torque monsters in stock form. And now we have the B spec engines, and so you have an A spec and a B spec. The B spec is kind of like they got Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4 Coyote engines.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we call it A spec and a B spec engine. The B spec engine is definitely a little hotter engine. Ford doesn't claim that, but so Mr. Mitchell, a customer of ours, has actually got a second truck here with us now. He's got a truck that's got a B spec engine in it, and he made the comment. He's like, he owns like I think 2 pro mod cars or something, or a pro mod car.
Really?
And he's like, I've driven vehicles 1,000 pounds lighter with 600 horsepower. He said, I believe this truck will take it, right? And it's stock, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So they're a lot of fun to drive. They really are. So, but
I haven't. Yeah.
you don't have to rev it to 7,000 RPMs to make it go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's tapping out, in stock form around 5,800, 5,900. So
Yeah. I haven't driven one, but I've driven in one, and that's Morgan's awesome truck that he built.
Yeah.
And I believe his was a crate with a cam and now has boost of some sort, but I was able to ride in it before. He was nice enough. Great guy, by the way. And I was like, just like,
Right.
it was awesome. I mean, it's just, I feel like, Coyote can do probably everything, throw your back in the seat and just do all this
Sure.
stuff like that. But there's just something still raw about Godzilla.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. Maybe that's just how I feel,
Well,
personally.
it's got the push rod sound, right? It's got the single cam
Yeah,
push rod
yeah.
sound. The Coyote's high revving, raspy, pierce your ears. If you don't have the right exhaust system, you've heard the Mustangs. They're just
They got to have the right exhaust system. Yeah.
You got the right exhaust system.
Yeah.
So,
what exhaust system do you guys recommend?
What?
I mean,
For
what you
Coyotes.
recommend
Yeah, for Coyotes.
for exhaust?
Yeah.
Oh, exhaust. So our exhaust that we make in house.
I didn't know that. Okay, what exhaust do you make?
Yeah.
Is it a chamber design or is it a?
No, so it's really, we actually use a cat in our exhaust.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to get every ounce of horsepower out of those Coyotes because a lot of times the Coyotes are in the Broncos and they have plenty of power as it is. So we're really, all that is to tune the exhaust note, right?
Okay.
So, when you lay into a Coyote with our exhaust system, it's going to sound like a really, really healthy small block Ford. It's not going to be this raspy, ear piercing. They used to be that way early years ago. And we just had people like, man, I love this, but it's just like, I barely get on it. I can't even hear the radio or talk to anyone.
There were complaints from neighbors about
setting
setting off car
alarms.
So we shipped out a few replacement exhaust systems and then
Okay.
changed.
Well, that's cool.
It's just a loud engine, especially you get up on RPM. And so we really went and did some homework on exhaust and found the recipe that works for us. So we've kind of taken that over into the Godzillas, but really not 100% necessary.
Yeah.
So they're just a real throaty sound when you get in them. They're not this loud, crazy. We can make them loud. Obviously, that's easy to do. Just
cut off sort of. Yeah. What's something that you guys produce that maybe nobody else does or that nobody knows? That isn't so public that people know that you produce.
For trucks, like I was telling you before, like we have a lot of fuel tanks that have not hit the market yet. And we're just vetting all the, we have fuel filler necks that are redesigned for the F-Series trucks. It's a huge problem for gas spilling back out down the side of your paint and all this stuff. And so we've modernized the fuel filler necks and the way the tanks feel. For narrow frame trucks from 65 to 72 is always a narrow frame truck. You get in the high boys and 73 to 77 and a half, that's still narrow frame. So we developed a 40-gallon rear fuel tank for narrow frame trucks. So it goes in between the frame rails in the rear, which is, I think, is a total game changer in the market for these trucks. So you can have a lot of fuel capacity versus like
That's
a
awesome.
28 or 30 gallon, 10 gallons back there. So
I think one thing that we don't do very well on our website at all is the Ford performance or Ford racing side of things. We install powertrain in our early Bronco chassis and the truck chassis every day, whether they're shipping out as rollers with powertrain or going over to the truck shop so we can finish a truck. But we also put a complete powertrain package in a giant crate and ship it to you fully assembled
with all the necessary parts. Like for trucks, I mean, that goes with the conversion kit from 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive. I mean, you get this all in a box and full instructions for everything to install in your garage, from the conversion side to the engine to the radiator, the cooling fans, the exhaust, the drive shafts, the rear axle. Do 100% new rear axle for it. New rear leaf springs that are wider and longer, that are actually for trucks that you can actually tow with. A lot of people, we want to use these Raptor rear springs and things like that. And Dakota that works with us, he tried to tow he went and tried to save a buddy that had a truck broke down with his Raptor, and his rear leaf springs with just a half-ton truck on a trailer behind his Raptor. They're like actually bent. He's got to replace them. Some things that a lot of people don't understand about springs. They're soft for a reason on that Raptor, right? So just depends if you're towing or not towing. Designing it to ride good and tow good as well. Another thing that we've done is we built a lot of our own receiver hitches for these trucks to be tucked up nice and close to the bumper. There's not a lot of great options on the market. There are some. They're kind of universal for wide frame and narrow frame. And then we actually developed a gooseneck hitch for
Oh,
these
yeah?
trucks.
Yeah, you showed me one, I think. I think it was on a red truck, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's right. So
I think that what we put on the internet is showing the trucks that we're completing. We're putting road miles on them because, I mean, that people love seeing that, right? And not actually to show a step 3 kit with an axle and all the conversion parts on a pallet with powertrain shipping to someone, but we're doing that every day as well for the people that want to put sweat equity into their project, people that have the time to do that.
right. Or shops that want to,
Sure.
you know, they get a build in and a guy wants a conversion, you know, we can send out a complete kit for that shop to do the conversion and full instructions. And it just makes it, at the end of the day, it gives them a black and white cost and a known time frame to do the truck. It takes a lot of head scratching out of it. And again, talking about what I told myself years ago, when that product goes out, we want it to work 100%, right? So it's going to work. And the builder, once they get our product and they put it on, it's kind of game changing for them, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is there companies you guys work with besides builders?
Like, what do you mean?
I don't know. Do you like where, you know, can they only find your products on your guys' site and through calling you guys, or?
Good question.
Yeah, so we do have our, you know, there's some things that Chris Rutledge carries on Complete Performance.
Yeah, okay.
So you can buy the conversion kits on there. You can buy some step kits. You can buy Hydro Boost for your F-Series truck through there.
There will be more and more of that through him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doc Johnson that we just shipped a complete step 3 to last week. He just did a video last night. So he's, I think, going to be doing more and more what we do just because he's about to realize how easy it makes it.
Yeah. Seems like more and more people are falling in love with what you guys got going on, because you mentioned like 3 people now, they're like, they bought one and now they want more. Or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's really cool.
I mean, it's true with the trucks. Like a lot of times these custom more than once, people have come to pick up one and they're bringing another with them. And I'm sitting in the office doing my job and just, I can't believe it, but it's great.
And that's great. We want to create that type of relationship with a customer where they, you know, fully trust us and like, we're just doing the same thing over and over. And it's just like, you know, this is what it is. You know, we're not trying to, again, create all the custom billet parts and all the custom inner fenders. There's shops out there that do that. And we support those shops. There's plenty of space in the market for everyone. Right. So that's where we actually send people to shops like that. You know, it's like, well, this is
we know a guy.
It's not a good fit. So, you know, like you're looking for more than what we can do, but here's a shop that can help you and we work with them. Right.
That's cool. So, that's awesome. Well, it sounds like you guys have learned a lot over the years and you guys really know what you're doing.
I was still learning every day. So
what's some advice you would give your, you know, younger self, if you will, when you got into this, both of you? I'm sure like COVID was hard, you know, things like that, you know, or maybe it was real lucrative. I don't know.
I mean, COVID was COVID.
COVID made us turn in a lot inward to figure out what we could really do because you couldn't really look out for help.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, a lesson that's been learned is not that we don't want to depend on suppliers because we do. We want people to do what they do best and send us their best product so we can incorporate it into what we do.
Right, yeah.
When it's a super critical item for what we need to push out the door, sometimes it's best to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like during COVID, we couldn't get hubs, right? So now we manufacture our own hubs, right? You know, so it's just like,
I hear that a lot. Yeah.
Things happen like that where you have to just go to bat and, you know, spend the money and get the tooling and things done to
make the jigs.
The product. So
that's cool.
Yeah, customer service. I mean, that's number one. You know?
Yeah, it's not ever. I mean, we really react the same to a $5 problem as we do a $5,000 problem because problem no matter what.
Got to figure it out. What's the hardest problem you guys had that you had to figure out?
What is that again?
The biggest
problem. The hardest problem, biggest problem that you've encountered, you've had to figure out.
I think the hardest problem is always growth and not losing the quality. And
how to grow.
Yeah, growth. I think that's always in business. You always have a hurdle, right? You're always trying to climb this and get over this hurdle. But once you get over the hurdle, there's always another hurdle. It never ends. And once you realize that, it becomes easier, right? You know, you just know it's always, you get over that hurdle, is always another one. And you just have to embrace the hurdle, right? So
that's That makes sense.
I think that's the biggest thing really is just growth. And we're very much we're a company that's like very much pay as you go. Like we don't have investors, I mean, I started with $5,000 in my pocket, literally.
Yeah.
Rent due, and I had to buy QuickBooks and
Figure that
started.
out.
And that's when I moved out of my dad's one bay garage. I moved into an 8,000 square foot building, and I literally have $5,000 in my pocket.
Wow.
I haven't borrowed a dime from then. And it's just like, just be a good steward of people's time and money.
Yeah.
And it comes back tenfold.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's that passion you talk about. If you got the passion, you'll get it done. You'll figure it out. So I know you can't talk about it all, but final question: what is next for Kincer? Can you give us like some little one-word answers, maybe, or what are people going to be? Yeah,
lots of cool stuff for F-Series trucks.
Okay, all right,
yeah, and you'll see it here in 2026.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Debut at like Grand Nationals or something, or Super Nationals, or
yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Awesome. Broncos, F-Series trucks, you guys are the go-to. Suspensions, parts. I mean, that's pretty customer service for sure. QC, that's awesome. You guys got a great company, great products, and that was the main reason why. And you guys are great people. I've talked to you a few times. You guys are real. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that. And I feel like customers do too, or just, people that are also enthusiasts of the F-100s and Broncos and Fords in general, or just anybody in that realm, So you guys are pretty legit people and a legit company. Where can people find you? Social media wise or whatever?
We're on Instagram, Facebook, a little bit on YouTube. I don't manage that. Web guy manages YouTube. So, and then, our websites.
Yeah.
Kincer Chassis, that crawler's edge one that you weren't super familiar with. And then we also have Kincer Garage that you will see more and more from soon.
Yeah.
I've seen you collab it a few times on Instagram. And I presume all this is also on Facebook?
Yes. Yep. Okay. We're also on Facebook. Has been where we're getting the most communication from customers in the past year.
It's a little more interactive than Instagram, it seems like, even if you have a content page, a lot like an Instagram, so our business page. Cool. So what is it exactly? KincerChassis.com?
It is. Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, contact them if you guys have any questions. Sounds like they know a lot of information as well on what direction you guys want to go in your build, or you guys can go to the Grand Nats, Super Nats. What other shows you going to?
We will be at Sun and Fun, the air show in Florida in April. For Broncos at the same time, we'll be at the April Super Celebration in Townsend. We're there every year. Then May Grand Nats, of course, September Super Nats. We probably will be at Carlisle, which is an interesting for those customers that are that direction.
So it's the 60th anniversary.
Really? I've been wanting to go to that show.
Yeah, we don't go there every year, but it's a good one.
Yeah, and then
we'll be at Oshkosh, the air show again. We just had such great response at the air show last year. We're going to go back to Oshkosh.
And we like airplanes. Like, I'm not a pilot or anything.
Who doesn't? Yeah.
I always say I'm a wannabe pilot, but I love going to our, little boy, he loves airplanes. And I mean, if I would have got a scholarship to play baseball, I probably would have went into the Air Force,
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I want to do
that's just kind of what happened, and then life went this direction. You know what I mean?
I like airplanes, so now I make suspensions. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Well, I had a Miss Shavlik, my math teacher, her husband flew for Delta, and he's retired now, but that's where I kind of got the bug, was talking to him, and she was a great mentor to me, and he was well, and that's where that kind of came from, So, because when you're a kid, you don't know what you want to do, right? You have no.
I thought it was going to go in the direction it went with me, where I was like, I want to be an engineer. And my math teacher's like, you don't have the ability.
Don't do
it. Math is not your, or I want to be whatever, whatever required math. I was like, well, guess I'm not doing that, kind of thing. But, cool, man. All right. Awesome. Check them out on YouTube, guys. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram.com, all of the shows. Grand Nats, if not Super Nats, you're going to do ride-alongs? where people can
Yeah.
ride along? And
Yeah. And I just want to give a shout out to all the guys at the shop. They everybody watch this video. I mean, I'm telling you, there's only so many hours in a day, right?
yeah,
So it takes all of us, and I appreciate them. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
It's awesome. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate your time. And you guys can get back to your coffee and your kiddo, and enjoy your weekend. I know having a business is probably all the time, but enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. We hope to get one of you guys on here, or future businesses, or just people like you and I that just might make products for these trucks. Some stories as well, some history of these classic trucks that we love so much. You guys can check out more things like this. There's a community, if you don't know, on Facebook called Ford F100 World. We got a couple of them, but the main one is about, at this current moment, 280,000 members. We've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're just all about getting the stories, the trucks, and you guys out there. Really appreciate you guys listening, and share it to somebody that you think would like it. Alrighty, guys. See ya.